Hey guys, PepperAmmy here. This week we are kicking off Souptember with a amazingly flavoured roasted tomato soup. And this time of year you can get some great fresh tomatoes from your shops or even your garden if you are growing your own. Now the amount of tomatoes you use will of course heavily depend on how many people you are feeding, but for 4 of us I found roughly a kilogram of tomatoes gave us all a bowl and a bit each. Now I try and use a variety of different tomatoes, normally some large salad type tomatoes and some nice on the vine cherry tomatoes. Also, if you can get some nice on the vine San Marzio tomatoes, they roast up really nicely and they are great for making tomato sauces anyway, so they go amazingly in soups. To get started, prepare your tomatoes by slicing the larger ones in half and place cut side up. While roasting, this will caramelize the edges of the tomatoes and get a nice and jammy edge around your tomatoes and release the deep tomatoey flavour from roasting rather than just boiling chopped tomatoes. And with the cherry tomatoes you can just leave them whole and leave the vines on as well, as this can impart an amazing tomato aroma to the dish whilst roasting. Now if you've been here for a while you will know I absolutely love garlic. Now I'm adding a whole bulb of garlic to the tray. Now if you think this is going to overpower your dish, now prepare to learn about the magic thing that garlic produces. Allicin. Now allicin is produced when garlic cell walls are damaged as a defense mechanism and is responsible for how pungent your garlic is. However, whilst cooking your garlic, if you go above 60 degrees Celsius, the enzymes that produce the pungent allicin become dormant and the more sweeter undertones of the garlic take over.
Yes, science!
Now to prepare the garlic, simply remove the papery outside layers and slice in half and sprinkle the top of the cloves over the tomatoes and place the whole base cut side up in the middle. This is going to give it a nice surface to get roasted on and it will go nice and gooey. Now in addition you can also add in some fresh herbs or dried herbs if you prefer. Now you can't go wrong with a few sprigs of rosemary and thyme, great program. And if you're feeling adventurous, maybe even some sage, then sprinkle over some salt and pepper and place in a 220 degrees Celsius oven for 30 minutes. Once roasted, remove from the oven and let cool slightly. This is gonna make handling some of the stuff a lot easier rather than burning your fingers. You want to remove the stalks and sprigs of the herbs and the tomato vines. And then be very careful when you squeeze the garlic from the skins, as you don't want the skins in the soup and the garlic can still be quite hot at this point. But by this point the garlic will also be soft, sweet and squishy. And then simply add it all to a large saucepan or a soup pot along with 2 litres of either a good chicken stock or a vegetable stock and let cook for 10 to 15 minutes. This is just going to help the flavours infuse before blending. Then you guessed it, you need to blend the soup. I prefer using a stick blender, but you can let it cool and use a blender or a food processor. Now you just want to get this to a nice smooth consistency and you can either serve now or you can improve the soup even further by letting it cook for a further 15 to 20 minutes. This is going to reduce the amount of soup you get, but it's going to also make a thicker soup. Now just before serving, I like to add in a good splash of balsamic vinegar. This adds a nice subtle rich flavour and slightly darkens the soup. And then add in some roughly chopped fresh basil leaves, just sprinkled over and give a quick stir. And then for serving, I like to just go for some croutons or a nice crunchy bread roll with some good butter, or just on its own. This is a deeply flavoured soup and it can beat a can of tomato soup any day of the week. That wraps up this week's episode and part 1 of Souptember. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, let me know down below with a like and a comment. If you're new here, feel free to subscribe. It is free and you get cooking content every Friday. And I hope to see you all again next week. Thanks for watching.